good to go? All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Hello, everyone. Buenos días a todos. My name is Wendy Santamaria here with the Central Coast Alliance United for a Sustainable Economy. Today, CAUSE and the Santa Barbara Tenants Union are joining Right to the City Alliance in the nationwide call for the protection of tenants and a stop to unjust evictions across the country and in the state of California. In just about 18 days, on February 1st, landlords will be able to start evicting tenants who have not been able to pay at least 25% of their rent after September 2020. These evictions can stop if action is taken quickly at the state level, because tenants only have 18 days left until they can start getting evicted for not being able to pay rent during a pandemic. As such, we call on Assemblymember Steve Bennett and State Senator Monique Limon to support Bill AB 15, a bill that expands the tenant protections offered by the Assembly Bill 3088, which is the COVID Tenant Relief Act of 2020. Now, if these tenant protections are not extended, millions of California tenants could be evicted on February 1st for unpaid rent. This would occur while Californians are facing the highest peak of infection rates from COVID. At-risk renters must pay at least 25% of their unpaid monthly rent that was due between September 1st, 2020 and January 1st, 2021. Paying this amount is harder than it seems, with many who lost income during the pandemic who have not been able to return to work, and federal unemployment benefits have run out. Many others were not ever able to receive unemployment benefits in the first place. And starting March 1st, 2021, landlords will actually be able to sue tenants for all unpaid rent in small claims court. Unless we pass tenant protections at the state level, we're going to see a mass tsunami of evictions, with thousands pushed into homelessness and a level of economic poverty from which they will never be able to recover. Now, it's worth repeating how quickly this is going to happen. In a matter of weeks, if not days, tenants are going to start seeing their landlords trying to evict them. As a community organizer, I personally have received calls from families across the county of Santa Barbara telling me that their landlord is trying to evict them now, right now that a landlord can actually evict a tenant. So what's going to happen in February when landlords do get the green light to evict them? How many more families are we going to see struggling on the streets without homes? And what's going to happen to the city when thousands of folks are seeking shelter in the middle of a pandemic and need resources that the city simply does not have? It's a nightmare scenario that can be prevented if we act now. I know that this sense of urgency is sometimes difficult to comprehend or see when you're not a tenant, when you yourself are not staying up at night wondering if you're going to have a roof over your head tomorrow. We know that sometimes it's hard to put a face to the numbers, so allow us. We have with us today 3 tenants who are willing to speak on their experience with the housing crisis here in Santa Barbara. And we are hoping that with these statements, we are able to see, first of all, that tenants are not alone. We stand in solidarity with them. And number 2, we hope that this helps paint a clearer picture of what it's really like living with this housing crisis during a pandemic. Now, first off, I'd like to welcome our first speakers. Please welcome Lucia Trujillo.
Hello, my name is Lucia Trujillo. I was born and raised here in Santa Barbara, and I'm just here to talk about a couple things. So, good afternoon. We are standing here alongside CAUSE and my fellow renters. We are part of the Santa Barbara Tenants Union, an all-volunteer and tenant-led association dedicated to educating, organizing, and advocating for tenants in Santa Barbara. We are united around the belief that housing is a human right and that tenants are better off when we fight together instead of alone. Marginalized, disenfranchised communities of color are most impacted during COVID and the housing crisis because people of color are essential workers, undocumented, ineligible for vital services, uninsured or underinsured, and face language barriers. Some statistics here. So in 2019, 55% of tenants in Santa Barbara were rent burdened. Between 2011 and 2018, 20% of the Latinx community was pushed out of housing, pushed out because of gentrification taking over our neighborhoods. Sorry about that. In the past 5 years, rents have increased by 27%, while wages have sadly disproportionately increased only by 8%. This pandemic has only worsened pre-existing equities in health, housing, and in the labor market. Economic precarity has worsened. Communities of color are getting infected and dying at higher rates because they are essential workers, overly exposed to COVID, have lower rates of health insurance, and reside in multi-generational housing. As of December 30th, 2020, Latinos made up 48% of Santa Barbara County's population. However, 65% of those were infected. 72% were hospitalized, and 50% of COVID died of COVID. Let me say that again. 50% of the population of Latinos in Santa Barbara died of COVID. Undocumented communities in Santa Barbara are most at risk because they face limited access to health insurance and do not receive federal stimulus aid. However, jeopardize their lives for ours. Finally, Santa Barbara Tenant Union is asking our fellow tenants to sign our pledge to stop unfair evictions. Visit our site, our Facebook site at Santa Barbara Tenant Union, like us, and sign our pledge. Sign up to stay connected with us and learn how to get organized. If the eviction moratorium is not extended, on February 1st, hundreds and thousands of Santa Barbara tenants will be evicted, which will put families on the streets where the pandemic rages our streets and the economic downturn intensifies the housing crisis. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you so much, Lucia. Our next speaker will be Jacob Lesnar-Buster. Just give us one moment while we clean the mic.
Can you hold it?
Yes, I can hold it. That could also. Let me just use hand sanitizer and I can hold it. Do you want to stand in the front or back here? Is there fine? You could just come here if you'd like, if that's okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Jacob Lesnar-Buster, and I'm the system trend advocate at the Independent Living Resource Center in Santa Barbara. ILOC is a disability advocacy non-profit organization that serves the Tri-Counties. Every year, our organization assists hundreds of people in South Santa Barbara to find and maintain housing. We also advocate for community-wide trends to improve the life of those with disabilities. I am here today because ILOC is concerned about the effect of lifting the eviction moratorium will have on seniors and those with disabilities. It is already incredibly challenging for people to find housing that is accessible and affordable. We have had kids who have had to wait for 9 months or more to find a unit to meet their accessibility needs with potential rise of eviction ordering towards ILOC is considered in the virtual rights use their accessible improvements and will have to be admitted to nursing facilities because they won't be able to find another unit that is conducive to them being able to live independently. ILOC calls on local and state public officials to take steps to protect landlords, including the passage of AB 15 to extend the moratorium on eviction. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacob. Our final tenant speaking today is Sonia Martinez. However you want. I'm just going to use this for you.
Hi, my name is Sonia Martinez, and I'm currently without a home. And being without a home in Santa Barbara decreases our life expectancy by about 20 years. On a daily basis, I feel that with prices today and the pandemic, I don't see a way out of this homeless situation. There are several Airbnbs near where I stay, and I watch them sit empty most of the month while I sleep in my car, wishing I could go inside or I could rent one, but I can't afford it because it's like 3 or 4 times the rent of an average rent. Those that own homes or apartments, they also see that, and the rent keeps going up. And resources at this point are just tapped. And as it stands, I see evictions on the rise, and it really just makes me wonder what's going to happen when we run out of cars to sleep in. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. We hope this paints a clearer picture of just how urgent this crisis is for millions of people, including those that are here today. I want to be clear that AB 15 is not the end of it all. It is only the first step in helping tenants get out of this economic disaster. Despite the diversity of California tenants and their experiences, we can significantly help them all by making sure that we place tenant protections as a top priority at the local, state, and federal level. We only have 18 days until this wave of eviction is upon us. So the first step in avoiding that is passing AB 15. We hope that this is the first of more tenant protections, because without affordable housing for all, we will see this becoming a recurring housing crisis that permanently leaves tenants in a state of uncertainty or even homelessness. Housing is a human right, and now, more than ever, with a raging pandemic breaking records day after day, with Latinos being 58% of the deaths in Santa Barbara County, we need tenants to be able to shelter in place and have a safe and healthy home. For our tenants watching this, please sign the Santa Barbara Tenants Union Pledge to get more information about our efforts on stopping the eviction crisis. We stand in solidarity with at-risk tenants and our houseless population, and we expect our elected officials to stand with us as well by supporting and signing on to AB 15. Thank you so much, and we'll stick around for a few questions.